Good evening. Tonight is Monday, October 7th. We'll call to order tonight's council meeting for the City of Gahanna. I'd like to start this evening with the invocation and pledge delivered by Councilwoman Kaylee Padova. Please join me and stand.
In honor of all the coaches here this evening, I want to share my favorite quote on leadership by Theodore Roosevelt. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilwoman Padova. Mr. Van Meter, would you please call the roll?
Bowers,
Here.
Jones,
Here.
McGregor, here. Padova,
Here.
Renner,
Here.
Schnetzer,
Here.
Weaver is absent.
Thank you, Mr. Van Meter. Are there any corrections or additions to the agenda tonight? All right, hearing none. Our first section on tonight's agenda is Section C, presentations. We have a couple of presentations under this section, and then Section D will continue forward with hearing of visitors. I know we have a number of guests here tonight, so thank you all for joining us. Our first presentation this evening is a joint resolution and proclamation in honor and recognition of National Coaches Day, and I'll turn it over to Councilman Schnetzer.
Thank you, President Bowers. As President Bowers mentioned, we have a special presentation this evening in partnership with the mayor. We're preparing a joint resolution proclamation. I think we have called these or referred to these as procolutions in the past, recognizing Sunday, October 6th, 2024 is National Coaches Day. I believe next year it will be on a Monday, so we'll look forward to that. Really the intent in this proclamation is to recognize the contribution of coaches all across this community in making Gahanna the city and the place that we all love. I believe we have a number of guests from various athletics organizations in attendance today. With us, we have the Foxborough Barracudas, I believe Sophia York and Francisco Rivera, from Gahanna Soccer Association, Tracy Larrick, from Gahanna Junior League Baseball, Dustin Cullen, and from Gahanna Lions Youth Football League, Chris Johnson. The Hunters Ridge Seahorses couldn't be here this evening, but we do have a resolution that we'll present to them at a later date. With that, I'll invite our guests up here in front for a presentation, and we'll get a quick picture. And if anybody would like to say a few words about their organization or the impact of coaching, they're certainly welcome to take to the mic after we take the picture. My colleagues will join me down front. I'm going to try and squeeze in here. Good, looking good. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Got it. Thank you all so much.
Especially important what you guys do. Thank you.
Of course. Don't let Chris, because he's customarily long-winded.
On behalf of Gahanna Junior League Sports, we just want to say thank you to Gahanna Parks and Rec, City Council, Mayor Jadwin, for all of your support. It is a great partnership. In my 8 years as part of the board, I'm confident in saying the last few years has been the strongest that our partnership has ever been, and we appreciate the efforts, the time, the money, the things that you're putting in so that we can volunteer and make great experiences for our kids. So thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you. That's it for me, unless anyone else has any comments.
Do any of my colleagues would like to make a comment tonight while we have guests in attendance? Yes, Ms. Padova.
Thank you. Thank you to all the coaches who are here this evening. I was raised by a coach myself. My mother coached cheerleading from starting at the Biddy League all the way up to middle school and high school. So I grew up knowing the phone calls, the late nights, the lots of cheerleaders that my mom was the first person that they would go to when they had any sort of teenage crisis. So I know that you guys are all shaping all of these young lives in different ways, and oftentimes the person that they feel trusted to go to. So I appreciate everything you guys are doing, especially when you are volunteer, and even if you are paid, it is definitely not enough. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you all so much for being here, and again, thank you so much for what you do. All right, our next section on our agenda this evening is an update from our CVB, our Convention and Visitors Bureau. Executive Director Lori Kappas will speak to us about Visit Gahanna.
Is this on?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, my name is Lori Kappas, and I'm the director of Visit Gahanna. Thank you for allowing me to come before you this evening. Many things have taken place since I was here last, so I wanted to share some of them with you. I know you, council members, are all aware of our mission and our place in the community. But just as a reminder for those in the audience, the Gahanna Convention and Visitors Bureau, known as Visit Gahanna, is a nonprofit destination marketing organization whose mission is growing travel to Gahanna to support local businesses and jobs, future investments, and the community. The travel sector is an integral part of our economy, as visitors generate significant economic benefits to households, businesses, and government. We recently had the opportunity to obtain a tourism economic impact study for Franklin County, and specifically for Gahanna for 2023, which was conducted by a company called Tourism Economics. To quantify the significance of the visitor economy, Tourism Economics developed a comprehensive model detailing the far-reaching impacts from visitor spending. The results of the study show the scope of the visitor economy in terms of direct spending. My apologies ahead of time for those of you who will be falling asleep during these numbers. The model they developed traces the flow of visitor-related expenditures and their effects on employment, wages, and taxes. It also quantifies the indirect and induced impacts of tourism. Tourism Economics then cross-checked the findings with employment and wage data for each sector to ensure the findings are within reasonable ranges. They defined visitors as those who stayed in overnight accommodations or those who came from a distance greater than 50 miles and deviated from their normal routine. The study found that direct visitor spending in Gahanna for 2023 is estimated at $78.2 million, which generated an additional $26.9 million in indirect and induced benefits, for a total economic impact of $105.2 million. Visitor spending supported 811 jobs, and business sales generated $8.5 million in state and local government revenues. This next slide shows the comparison for Gahanna versus all of Franklin County. It may seem like our numbers are very small in comparison, but what it indicates to me is that there's a lot of potential for future growth in Gahanna as far as tourism is concerned. The entire study was attached to the agenda for the meeting this evening if you want to dive deeper, but I'm happy to pause for a moment for any questions or comments before I move on to the rest of my update. All right. So we've had a couple of staff changes over the last few months at Visit Gahanna and the Ohio Herb Center. Our new community development and event manager is Sarah Carnes. She started with us at the end of August and was previously an event planner at Dawes Arboretum. Some of you may have already seen her out and about town already. And then there's Hannah Kershaw. She took over one of the part-time coordinator positions for the Ohio Herb Center and is a recent graduate of the horticulture program at Clark State Community College. As you know, we are funded by lodging tax, which accounts for the majority of our income. So far this year, we have received $192,650 in lodging tax, which is an increase of almost $14,000 in comparison to what we received this time last year. And we're definitely hoping this trend continues. Since I was here last, we completed a new visitor's guide for Gahanna, which we released in May during National Tourism Week. You will see them when you are out and about town in several locations, as well as in travel information centers and AAAs across Ohio. We also utilize a company called Ohio Travel Pavilion to distribute them at shows and events in Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Indiana, and Michigan. This year, our guides were featured at the Ohio State Fair, and the Ohio Travel Pavilion staff wore Gahanna 175 t-shirts for the extra promotion. Guides can be requested through our website, and we receive these requests almost daily. We just launched the fall-winter version of the Herbal Cocktail Trail last month, and there are 10 Gahanna establishments on the trail this time. The new Bubbles Tea in Creekside came on board this time to offer a mocktail. So there are now 3 mocktails available on the trail for those who prefer non-alcoholic beverages. The Herbal Cocktail Trail was created back in 2017 and has been going strong ever since. The establishments love it because it creates awareness and brings customers to their doors who may not have come otherwise. And trailblazers love it because it's a fun activity that they can do with friends and family that is unique to Gahanna. Plus, they enjoy receiving a prize for their efforts. We change the prize every year to add variety, as there are some guests who complete every version of the trail that is offered. This time, it's a Stanley-type tumbler with the Herbal Cocktail Trail logo. We do survey the guests who turn in their passports for a prize, and every one of them has said that they have spent at least $100 in Gahanna, which is actually on the low end, because most of them also eat in the establishments where they drink their cocktails. Switching gears to the events we host, Herb Day was the first big event we produced this year, which was held the first Saturday in May. This year, the event attracted over 1,000 people to Creekside, and nearly $1,700 in plants were sold. 36 other vendors participated in Herb Day, and many of them were local artisans. Just a few weeks after Herb Day, we hosted the Creekside Blues and Jazz Festival in its 25th year. Our attendance was down slightly by about 400 people in comparison to the year prior, which we attributed to the extremely hot temperatures on Sunday during the festival. But we still attracted guests from at least 20 different states and countless cities across Ohio. As you know, an event of this magnitude requires hundreds of volunteers, and we are so grateful for the time they donate and also for the support of our partners and sponsors, including but not limited to the various departments of the City of Gahanna. The festival gives many local nonprofit groups the opportunity to earn money for their organizations by volunteering during the event. This year, our nonprofit groups collectively earned over $15,000 that they are now able to reinvest in the community. You've heard me say before that this event brings an incredible amount of awareness to our great city. This year alone, we received at least 73 pieces of media coverage, and the value of those pieces is more than we could ever afford to pay for, although we did pay for some advertising as well. The photo in this slide was taken during one of our interviews on Fox 28 and ABC 6. Cameron Fontana also made his annual appearance in Gahanna to feature the festival on Good Day Columbus. We presented Midweek at the Creek series again this summer for the 4th year, and we formed a new partnership with Make Gahanna Yours to organize a spirit station to cheer on the Peloton riders who came through Gahanna. I think the cheering crowd had a great time, and the riders appreciated the warm Gahanna welcome and words of encouragement. Both organizations are hopeful that the route will come through Gahanna again next year, as we're already brainstorming ideas on how to make the experience even more memorable. Before I end, I'd like to focus on the Ohio Herb Center for a moment. The classes we offer are growing more and more popular every year, so much so that almost all of the classes so far this year have sold out, and some with wait lists long enough to warrant additional time slots for those classes. Not only that, but class attendees have come from 40 different zip codes and some from neighboring states. In addition to classes, we have hosted 5 private workshops, participated in 7 different outreach events, and welcomed 2 motor coach tour groups this year. Over 1,400 visitors have come into the shop to get local information, and we currently feature items made by 6 local artisans and product makers on consignment. Visit Gahanna is currently preparing for the holiday light celebration, which is held on Sunday, November 24th. It's the Sunday before Thanksgiving, and the ever-popular Santa race on December 7th. I hope you'll be able to join us for these fun holiday events. I'm happy to answer any questions you have at this time.
I have a quick question. So in the lodging, what slide was it? Where you noticed the almost $14,000 increase in lodging tax.
Mm-hmm.
Is that any ideas of why, or is that like industry-wide you're seeing increase in lodging? Like, where did that come from?
It could be a mixture of things. Some of the hotels have increased rates, so that could account for some of it. And some of our hotels have contracts, regular contracts with some companies around town as well. So that could account for the increase in occupancy.
Okay.
But so it's kind of a combination of multiple factors, I would say.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Madam President, I have a question as well. Thank you, Ms. Kappas, for your summary and for all the work that you do. A quick question. So we have 4 hotels here in Gahanna. How much are you seeing, if at all, an impact from extended stays, construction workers, et cetera? Is that impacting your lodging tax collections at all?
It is definitely impacting it. I've been watching, I get the reports from the different hotels as to the percentage of extended stay visits, which means they aren't subject to lodging tax, as many of you know, if they stay in our hotels for 30 days or more. So there are 2 specific hotels in Gahanna who cater to extended stays. And that has been increasing over the past few years at least, if not before that. And it's one of our hotels specifically has jumped from a 40% in extended stay up to an average of 70% in extended stay. So there are companies staying here for long periods of time. And we actually, last year around this time, maybe it was more in the winter and the beginning of the year, we had some of the displaced people displaced from their houses and their apartments in a few different areas of Columbus who were staying in our hotels.
And I guess just as a follow-up to that, do you have a sense of capacity or occupancy rates in our hotels? Does what we have accommodate the need that we could or the potential visitor base that we could have?
I think there's more, I think we could get more guests staying with us if we had specific kinds of hotels. For example, Kevin Dingle shared with us, who attended the Give to Gahanna conference a couple weeks ago, that they were interested in coming here for their conference in future years, but they typically try to stay in a boutique type hotel or something where there are things walkable from the hotel so that people can enjoy the area amenities. So that is something that specifically people coming for meetings like to have.
Great, thank you. Yes, Ms. Padova?
Thank you for being here. I know you noted the increase year over year. Do you know how that compares to, because I know that we were kind of down a little bit, is that like comparable to pre-COVID numbers? Or are we still down from pre-COVID?
We're still significantly down. We're
Okay.
still down at least 20%.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Director Kappas. We appreciate your time and
welcome.
the information that you provided. Our third presentation this evening is from Senior Director of Operations, Kevin Schultz, with an update regarding our municipal aggregation program.
Good evening, Council. I actually didn't think I would be here so quickly with my next aggregation update, but last week, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, I forget exactly which day, but we were able to actually set a rate with SOPEC. So we're actually moving forward, and we should see energy aggregation implemented here in the city of Gahanna for the December billing cycle, the AEP December billing cycle of this year. So with our marketing department and communications folks, we have rebranded, I guess, the program here to be Gahanna Energy Plus. It's still the same old community choice aggregation program that we've been talking about for a number of years. But you can see the logo there on the far left, along with SOPEC, our partners at SOPEC, and our partners with AEP Energy. But basically, what we were able to do last week was we were able to set a 100% clean energy rate at 6.445 cents per kilowatt hour, compared to the standard rate offering of AEP Ohio that was set. It actually just finalized setting today. Their standard offering rate is 7.61 cents per kilowatt hour. So we're seeing about a wrote it down here, 1.165 cents per kilowatt hour savings overall to the standard rate set by AEP Ohio. This is for a 6-month term, so this is that bridge term that we originally talked about, taking us from December to June of 2025. That is when the majority of SOPEC participants, the other municipalities that aggregate through SOPEC, this is when their bulk contracts come due, and then we would actually be aggregating or setting a price with them in June, or before June technically, with a much larger group than what we were able to set a price with today. So it's for the 6-month term. There's no fees, obviously, no fees to opt in, no fees to opt out. This is an opt-out at any time type of program. And as you guys all know from the presentations that have been previously done, everybody will be any eligible resident would be opted into the program, and it would be their choice to opt out. Only eligible accounts being anybody who's not currently shopping on their own or part of another government assistance type program as it relates to energy. Also make that last note there, that last point there, that anybody can still go to Energy Choice Ohio, energychoice.ohio.gov, and shop on their own. I went tonight just to make sure that I had the best information for you folks, and I did not find a rate on apples to apples, brown I found one rate, and I believe it was a brown rate on apples to apples that beat the 6.45 cents. So I do believe that the rate is very, very, very competitive. Obviously below the rate to compare, and then also rivaling some of the other public offerings that are out there for folks who want to shop on their own. So I believe that's a win. So basically what's next this year is, this is a 2-page slide here. This is a mock-up of a postcard that every residence, every single family, duplex, and condominium within the city of Gahanna will receive this particular postcard, this being I think the front of the postcard. Basically just making some of the highlights. Obviously you have all of our logos there, talks about the clean energy, competitive rates, fixed term, no opt-out fees, so on and so forth. And then the back has some narrative type information. The little blue box there on the left-hand side is shown here in red. On the right-hand side, town halls. We're going to host a town hall discussion for folks to come in and get some very nitty-gritty questions answered on October 22nd, 2024. We'll have 2 sessions, one at 12 and one at 6 right here in these particular chambers. Anybody is welcome to come. Bring your energy bill. We can discuss exactly what those savings look like and what maybe some of your best choices might be. This is a draft of the opt-out letter. It's actually, I had to finagle it so we could see on the screen here. But this is basically the opt-out letter that everybody would be receiving. This is hot off the presses and I believe finalized by AP Energy and SOPEC today. In the upper left is the actual letter itself. Lower left is the actual opt-out notification, which is pretty simple. You fill out your name, address, so on and so forth, and you either mail that, just sign it and mail it back in, or there's a variety of other ways to opt out by scanning that QR code, calling the 1-800 number there that's on the document, or again, mail them that form in. It gives a lot of different parts and pieces of information up to and including the rate, and then it also details the term like I just talked about. And with that, that's www.gahanna.gov/CCA/ will take you to our website with our FAQ and any of the other details and links to the presentations that we've given on this particular subject are there. And with that, I can take any questions.
Great. Thank you, Director Schultz.
I'm sorry, President Bowers. I should also note that about 9,500 residences and 1,000 small businesses are eligible for the program. That's about 66% of residences that don't shop on their own. And again, about 1,000 small businesses. So.
Excellent. And the eligibility, I know we've talked about this before, but could you go over the eligibility just very quickly?
The eligibility is basically anybody who's not shopping on their own. So you weren't at the grocery store and you signed up by an aggregator. Somebody knocked on your door. You went to Apples and Apples and signed up for it by an aggregator on your own. If you're on a PIP, a PIPP, forgive me, I don't know those exact acronyms. You would have to come off the PIP in order to be eligible to go on to this particular program here. So what this was telling the SOPEC folks was about 35% of folks here in the city of Gahanna shop on their own and have their own rate that was set a number of months ago at this particular point, at least.
And my understanding for businesses, small businesses to be eligible, it was use of a certain, a threshold, below a certain threshold of a kilowatt hour use.
I
per
believe,
month.
yeah, small businesses, anybody over 7,000 kilowatts, I believe, a month do not qualify. But any small business who uses under that does qualify automatically.
Great, thank you, Director. Any questions? Yes.
Thank you, President Bowers. Thank you, Director Schultz. I think you had started your presentation by saying you were surprised you were back presenting on this so
Yes, sir.
soon. And I agree. We were talking about this could be even, December or next year sometime before locking in a rate. Curious if the experts at SOPEC who we're in partnership with had indicated maybe the rationale behind locking in the rate so soon. I know there's been some geopolitical events that have kind of roiled energy and commodities markets, including an escalation of events near the Middle East, as well as China has undergone an unprecedented economic stimulus package very recently, and they're the world's largest commodity importer. I didn't know if either one of those two or both perhaps came up in your conversations with them.
Yes, and the dock strike, add that one to the list. Obviously, that ended quite quickly, but that was a factor when they were testing the market for what the rate may have been. When they went out to the market, I think originally when they went out earlier or late the week prior, they were a little bit higher, and then events started to escalate in the Middle East. Obviously, we have an anniversary today, the geopolitical events in China that you mentioned, the dock strike. So when they actually got the rate of 6,445, they thought that was a very, very competitive rate. The other part and piece to rate lock now is there would be another auction coming up at the beginning of the year, and that's also when the capacity charge for AEP is going to hit as well. So I think that they're predicting anywhere from about a 3 to 4 cent additional charge on top of this. So this gives us a little bit of buffer between now and June. Obviously, we'll be faced with that rate when we set the next rate in June, but hopefully we're still well under the rate to compare, which I had on the screen prior.
Thank you, sir.
Mrs. McGregor.
Thank you. When they, you gave two options for the clean energy and the brown energy. How did they, at what point do they select that?
This slide here, this rate here.
Yes.
So we set two rates. We set the 100% clean energy rate. This is the default rate. So basically, if a resident does nothing, they're automatically opted into the default rate of the 100% clean energy.
Okay.
If you wanted to step down, you would have to call the AEP Energy 1-800 number, which is on the opt-out notice, and ask them for the traditional energy option of the 6.185 cents.
Okay.
But that is at the customer's choice and request.
But they could also just opt out completely and they default to the AEP Ohio standard rate offering?
Correct, yes. And/or shop on their own or whatever other
Correct.
consumer.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or comments? No? Okay. Yes, Mrs. Padova.
Thanks. I just wanted to thank you and everyone who's been working to get this done. I know this has been a fairly quick turnaround, and I appreciate everything that you guys have done to make sure that we get this done and that it's going to ultimately save some money for our residents. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I think I'll just wrap up comments this evening by directing us back and just reminding us about the resolution authorizing Gahanna to become a Power a Clean Future Ohio community that we adopted on March 18th of this year. I think that is a really helpful guiding document to help express and articulate what our goals are, why we advanced this particular aggregation program, and what we're hoping to continue to achieve by reducing greenhouse gas emissions, promoting clean choice energy aggregation, and then also addressing other ways in which we can promote sustainability and resiliency here in Gahanna. So I just wanted to shout that out and bring us back to that guiding document as well.
If I could just add to that real quick, Mr. Weibensinger and myself, we had a conversation with PCFO just last week in regards to the greenhouse gas reduction plan that they're putting together. They have a lot of data and a lot of metrics. To be quite honest, I think Corey and I were a little bit blown back by what some of those numbers may have meant and so on and so forth. So we're in the process of still digesting it. Knowing that we're doing aggregation and that we're going to be there sooner than later, they are making adjustments to understand not just the 2010 baseline, but also our existing baseline, and understanding that by implementing the 100% clean energy aggregation program, what that reduction would be, what we would see in 2025 as far as the greenhouse gas reduction goes. So what we had indicated to Joe Florida and his team last week is that we would likely want to be back before you folks sometime January, February of next year, given budget season and such, to present the results of that particular plan. So stay tuned.
Excellent. Thank you, Director.
You're welcome.
All right, this concludes Section C of the agenda. Moving on to Section D of tonight's agenda, I have a large stack of speaker slips from residents this evening. So we'll go ahead and get started with that. As a reminder, for those of you who may be new to council, we have a large timer that I'll set for 3 minutes for each speaker. You are welcome to fill the 3 minutes, but you do not have to. Please, when approach the podium, state your name and address, and then please proceed with your remarks. We also do have one video comment this evening, so I think we'll go ahead and start with the video comment tonight. While Mr. Van Meter is teeing that up, I'll remind folks that we included and added an option for members of the public to submit a comment by video. That does still require the speaker to have their face showing during that portion. They're required to state their name and address, and they also have 3 minutes to speak. There is a website upload option.
So the video comment, just as far as a matter of record, was submitted by Rebecca Moret, 215 Rivers Edge Way. Children speaking are Jaron Moret at 215 Rivers Edge Way and Issa Hanger Duque at 200 Rivers Edge Way.
My name is Jaron Moret. I'm 9 years old. I live in Rivers Edge neighborhood.
I'm gonna restart.
My name is Jaron Moret. I'm 9 years old. I live in Rivers Edge neighborhood. I've been playing soccer since I was 3. I love soccer. Save our park.
Hello, my name is Issa. I'm 9 years old as well, and I also live in Rivers Edge. I don't want you guys to tear this down because this is where teens and all ages play soccer. And as you can see, people are literally playing right now. And I do gymnastics here, and this is just a really fun place. Plus, if we put anything here, it's going to be a lot of noise to our neighborhood. So I don't think you should.
Thank you. Our first speaker slip this evening, I have for Melissa Corelli. Melissa, if you would approach the podium, state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes for your remarks.
Melissa Corelli, 182 Rivers Edge Way. Good evening, elected officials, city employees, and fellow residents of Gahanna. Why is our city leadership fundamentally misaligned with the majority of taxpayers who live near and or use Lower McCorkle Park? The Action Park project is being done in haste, and little consideration has been given to how it fits into the city's capital improvement or strategic plans. The city entered into contract with OHM Advisors in late July of this year. OHM's request for proposal states multiple community engagement sessions were to occur. Only 2 public meetings have taken place to date. The first held over Zoom with just 5 attendees of the Wheels Steering Committee, and the other with a limited audience of steering committee members. Attendees of both sessions consist of only supporters of the Action Park and represent the bottom 1% of respondents to a 2022 Parks and Recs needs assessment. None of the attendees are from the larger community of taxpayers and current user groups due to be displaced by the city's redevelopment plans. The project timeline is unrealistic and doesn't allow for meaningful engagement, sufficient planning, or robust deliverables. There is no documentation of who served on the RFP selection committee or meeting minutes to reflect the evaluation process. The scheduled completion date is December the 1st, and today is the 7th. And as a result of poor planning and organization, the city is unable to provide clear direction on the timeline of next steps. The city recently completed the trailhead portion of a mountain bike trail at Academy Park, and similar user groups are likely to frequent that trail. It only seems sensible for the city to leverage the trail and assess community usage, feedback, and ongoing maintenance needs, and incorporate their findings into the future action park. Our city leadership of the past had the right idea when they chose to build a golf course and practice fields next to Big Walnut Creek. The lower Big Walnut Creek Watershed Action Plan and Inventory confirms the importance of watersheds to promote appropriate surface water drainage. Today's city leadership needs to value the importance of those watersheds. It is not an overstatement to say the city has been short-sighted in not showing how the action plan and its proposed location complement the long-range park planning for the city. The city is ready to embark on a new strategic plan that will include parks and recreations. To proceed with this project prior to the completion of that plan is irresponsible. Big picture analysis and purposeful evaluation is needed. It will provide the city with an opportunity to optimize the natural resources and intrinsic value of an alternative location for the action park and preserve Lower McCorkle's integrity. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Heitzelman? I'm sorry, Heitzman. I keep adding an L in there, I'm sorry.
Michael Heitzman, 180 Rivers Edge Way. Good evening, President Bowers, members of council. I'm here again tonight to speak out against the proposed site for the Gahanna Action Skate Park at Lower McCorkle. As a point of reference, could those in the audience that live in a neighborhood off of Old Ridenhour or adjacent to McCorkle Park, raise your hand and keep your hand up? These residents must be listened to. Okay, you can put your hands down. As my fellow McCorkle Park neighbors and I speak tonight, I hope you keep in mind that you are hearing directly from those most impacted by this project. They are the ones that raise their hand. Our voices must be acted on. As representatives of the Gahanna community, it is your responsibility to change direction of the action park now. There may be many here tonight speaking in favor of the project, but they are not neighbors to the proposed site. It is a very different perspective that must be considered. Over the last few weeks, my neighbors and I have been engaging with many of our Gahanna City Hall administrators, council members, and other citizens, and we are grateful for your time and willingness to connect with us. We are also thrilled to hear that the mayor is working to schedule a public engagement session. My hope is you will all be there. We have been told repeatedly that we need to approach this with a mindset of collaboration, and we are committed to that. I am hopeful a date for the public meeting will be established in the next 3 to 5 days. Without a date on the calendar, it begins to feel like our concerns are being discounted. At the August 21st, 2023 public hearing on the capital improvement plan, Council President Bowers and Councilmember McGregor reminded those in attendance that the capital improvement plan is just that, a plan. You have not allocated funding for this project to occur at Lower McCorkle beyond the planning and conceptual design. We will continue to advocate to you that future funding should not be approved if the project remains at Lower McCorkle. As we enter budgeting season, we will continue to advocate this point. I am most disappointed in the fact that our city signed a contract with OHM to develop these plans for Lower McCorkle without engaging any of the neighbors that would be directly impacted by this change. I'm not sure who is responsible for that, but it is a huge misstep. You are talking about altering this area in a major way, and community dialogue about that should have occurred before entering into a contract. As far as I'm concerned, the city will need to cut their losses and move on to a new site. You cannot, in good conscience, fund a project where citizens have not had adequate opportunity to provide input. A one-sided Wheels Committee or an online survey with 37 respondents is not sufficient public input. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Heitzman. Rebecca Kavanagh?
Kavner. I live at 3657 Old Ridenhour Road. We're not opposed to an action skate park. We're opposed to the location at the Lower McCorkle Park. Our concerns are about safety. Putting the action skate park of this magnitude will bring an increase in traffic to Old Ridenhour Road, which isn't designed as a major throughway. When I first moved to Gahanna more than 20 years ago, it was designated a bike path, autos tolerated. It has a speed limit of 15 miles an hour. Coming from the north, it is very narrow, 1.5 lanes wide, no lines or curbs. With this increase in traffic and people disregarding the speed limit, usually traveling 35 to 45 miles an hour, I can see a great potential for accidents. Families bike ride and walk this section frequently. Being a self-insured city, I don't think you want that liability. Hundreds of cars will be using Old Ridenhour Road to access the action skate park. It isn't realistic to think people will only access this by skates, skateboards, or bikes. It will be a matter of time before a tragic accident will occur. According to the survey and the comprehensive master plan, 40% of Gahanna's residents are 60 years of age or older. Only 1% of the residents want an action skate park. And according to the priorities and investments for Parks and Rec, this project has a extremely low priority, yet 1% of the people are entitled to a $2 million plus project. The city chose to engage the wheel community, but not the tax-paying citizens that will be hugely affected by this project. The city has not been transparent or engaging with the residents. Also, the wildlife in this area will be greatly disrupted: owls, brown bats, minks, bald eagles. Human activity and noise greatly impact bald eagles' life and reproduction. This would be considered a violation of the Eagle Act. Please pursue another location. Don't pave our paradise and put in an action skate park. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin Kavner?
Evening, Council, Mayor. I'm Kevin Kavner, live at 3657 Old Ridenhour Road. Let me get this closer. We are curious about why the city of Gahanna will make a poor decision to build the proposed action park in a flood zone. According to an attachment, and I wasn't able to print them, we will email them to all the council member and to the mayor. According to the site figure action park posted in Gahanna Gov website, Lower McCorkle is classified as an AE flood zone. According to FEMA, an AE flood zone is considered a high-risk flood zone. During the September Parks and Rec meeting, Director Farrell said that the former skate park at Shoal Park was closed because of flooding, and it was rusted and could no longer be used. Lower McCorkle site is a floodwater every year. During last winter and early spring, the soccer field, golf course, portions of Creekside become inundated. The parking lot across from the soccer field is flooded. And you'll see that in the pictures that will be emailed to you. Don't understand why you would want to put a skate action park in a flood zone that floods every year. Old Ridenhour is closed every year because of flooding. And that lasts for 3 or 4 days, if not longer. Again, why would you want to put a action skate park in a flood zone? Now, Sheets wanted to come to Gahanna, and they were turned away. I wonder why. They didn't fit Gahanna where they wanted to put it. This action park does not fit Old Ridenour. It should be, this skate rink should be in a commercial area. It's going to cause noise. They've shown in Newark Skate Park, Westerville Skate Park, the kids come with bullhorns, loud music, boom boxes, screaming and yelling. If you put this canopy walk in our woods, you'll put signs up about an eagle, but you'll say that eagle used to live there. It won't live there anymore. Hans has a house on the east side of Old Ridenour. That path, that walking bridge, will be in his backyard. Where's his privacy? This makes no sense. The watershed action plan and inventory that was done in 2006 is an extensive investigation and survey of the watershed, river, flood zone, and the Big Walnut Creek. The goal being to maintain the chemical, physical, and biological integrity of Big Walnut Creek.
Mr. Kavner, I apologize. This did not give us an audible, but it is flashing. So I think we are over the 3 minutes for your comments this evening.
No?
Thank you for your time. You're welcome to follow up with us by email.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, John Moret. There we go. All right.
John Moret, 215 Rivers Edge Way. Good evening. First, I would like to express gratitude towards City Council for their service. We know you are busy and give a lot of time to the City of Gahanna and its residents. A special thanks to Marissa Bowers and Mike Schnetzer for agreeing to meet with the neighborhood directly impacted by the proposed Action Skate Park. Regarding the location of the skate park, I want to reiterate that the large, organized group of residents along the Old Ridenour corridor are happy to advocate for skating community in Gahanna to get something they would love. We simply ask, do not take away something that we love and that our children love. None of you would want this in your backyard. We strongly urge the city to consider 2 other locations that from every logical perspective makes considerably more sense to develop. With the current aquatics master plan underway, the property to the north of the Gahanna swimming pool would be a great location for the Action Skate Park. This alternative location to go along with Shoal Park would both be more appropriate for the following reasons. 1, the lands are in a semi-commercial area with close proximity to Creekside and retail shops. Lower McCorkle is not within 0.9 miles of any retail shops. They are centrally located and easily accessible by schools, neighborhoods, Route 62, sidewalks, and trails. Actions, noise, and heavy foot traffic are already commonplace in these locations. You would not need to destroy a peaceful, natural area and field where hundreds of residents walk by daily. Both locations are larger in acreage than Lower McCorkle site and also allow for growth and expansion in the future. They include utility infrastructure and will be more efficient for the city's staff, EMS, fire, and police. These locations also would prevent the unimaginable dangerous traffic situations that would be created if moved to Lower McCorkle. Finally, I need to share the deplorable manner in which the Parks and Rec Director has treated our communities. There has been no transparency. We have been left out of the loop at every turn. We have been lied to, intentionally misled, gaslit, spoken to with condescension and smugness, and most importantly, not been included in any discussions. Requests to engage are met with avoidance or completely ignored. It is very clear they are trying to push this through and hope we give up our fight to preserve the quality of our neighborhoods. I implore the City Council to hold the Parks and Rec Director and Mayor accountable and challenge them to abandon their myopic focus on one small interest group and the influence of outside companies such as OHM who have strong financial ties to the city. This comes all at the cost of our residents.
Thank you, Mr. Moret. We could hear that one. All right, Julie DeGarmo.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Julie DeGarmo. I live at 168 Rivers Edge Way. I'd like to talk about the proposed location of an action park at Lower McCorkle not being suitable for us. The location is quiet and contemplative. It is an area adjacent to the Gahanna Golf Course and Big Walnut Trail with large open green space that is unspoiled and undeveloped and must be preserved. The wildlife, plants, and trees must be protected. This area is home to bald eagles, endangered owls, and many other types of animals. Clearing the wooded areas for the proposed canopy walk and frisbee golf course would be devastating to the habitats that exist in this area. If lights are to be installed, it would also have a dramatic impact on the animals that make their homes there, particularly the nocturnal animals. Field space is very limited, especially on the west side. The Gahanna Soccer Association, I-9 Sports, Valley Sports Group, and Gahanna teams utilize the Lower McCorkle Park throughout the year. It would create a strain on the youth sports teams in Gahanna. The square footage available at the Lower McCorkle site does not allow for growth and expansion of the area. The proposed alternative site, north of the pool, allows for the expansion of services and amenities in the future. The Big Walnut Trail that continues directly through Lower McCorkle Park would be ruined for many. The once tranquil paths will be bombarded by unwanted noise, activity, and potentially floodlights during evening walks. The trail would become difficult for walkers, joggers, and bikers to navigate. I am very concerned for the well-being of our residents who live at Walnut Trace, many of them using walkers, assisted devices, who walk their dogs down the path at a very slow pace. I worry about them. The old Ridenhour Road is not designed to function to be a major thoroughway, as would happen if the project was on this site. The Action Park online survey conducted by the city reveals that nearly 50% of respondents would drive to this location versus taking the trail or carpooling. The argument that most people would access the park by trail is not in line with the survey data. According to the Public Skate Park Development Guide, skate parks should be located in areas with lots of visibility, activity, and social interactions in order to reduce criminal activity. This site does not have any of these key indicators, and based on the research, could potentially invite crime. This location will not be effective at attracting visitors to local businesses. There are 0 retail businesses within a 15-minute walk of this location, and there is not enough parking. Shull Park, or the proposed site north of the pool, have numerous businesses within quick walking distance and is close to locations where teens already congregate, such as the library, high school, and Creekside. And then I'll stop there because I'm almost out of time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jarmo. Ms. Hammond?
Hi, my name is Ashley Hammond. I live at 185 Rivers Edge Way, and I would like to discuss the community involvement in the proposed Action Skate Park. I stand before you to address the concerns regarding the lack of public engagement in the planning of this parks project. Despite the project's potential significant impact on our neighborhood and surrounding area, there has been a limited opportunity for the public input and discussion. From our perspective, the communication between the city, the Parks and Recs Board, and our neighbors has been non-existent. While I understand there are complexities involved in project development, I believe it is essential for the city to have a more inclusive and transparent process. Over the last couple weeks, our research indicated that the stakeholder engagement process for this project has been very limited, with minimal opportunities for public input. The online survey conducted by the city received a low response rate, and the Action Park skate community met only once since its formation. This group of 5 individuals is clearly not enough public input. We believe that the projects of this size should be developed with strong emphasis on community involvement. We urge the city to reconsider its approach and prioritize public input in the decision-making process. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hammond. Karen Blaze?
Karen Blaze, 200 Founders Court. The proposed site for Gahanna's Action Park at Lower McCorkle Park on Old Ridenhour Road is very concerning from a traffic and safety perspective. Old Ridenhour is just over 1 mile long. Half a mile, that is half the length of this road, is a 15-mile-per-hour zone with no sidewalks, no shoulders, no road markings, and is barely 2 cars wide. In addition, there are multiple blind spots and hidden drives along this road. All of these factors make it challenging for residents walking, biking, and even driving along Old Ridenhour. It is a quiet road, and those who live along it have a healthy respect for each other when using it. Placing an action park at Lower McCorkle Park off Old Ridenhour is extremely concerning when considering the increased traffic it will bring through this tiny corridor. Users of the Newark Action Park in Newark, built by Spone Ranch, and who are bidding contractors for this project, referred to that park on a YouTube video as, quote, always a madhouse, end quote. Users of that park also reference frequenting the park at 2 a.m. As for the addition of a canopy walk, consider Metro Parks Executive Director Tim Maloney's statement that the Blacklick Woods Canopy Walk attracted over 290,000 people in the first 6 weeks that it was open alone. Furthermore, the park is, quote, stacked and packed from open to close, each day with an overflowed parking lot spilling cars into nearby grassy areas. Placing the action park at Lower McCorkle Park would encourage unsustainable levels of road traffic and also disruptive street activity during times of rest for multiple neighborhoods along Old Ridenhour. The speed monitor recently installed at Walnut Trace will not provide sufficient data to capture the full scope of traffic along this road, nor mitigate the challenges created by the influx of potentially hundreds of thousands of additional people. It would be considered negligence on the part of the city to ignore the safety of the residents along Old Ridenhour and also the visiting kids and others who are not familiar with our small road by putting them at risk of injury or even worse. Furthermore, the city cannot assume people will arrive solely from the south on the trail to access Lower McCorkle Park. Old Ridenhour, particularly the northern half, is not built for heavy traffic, period. And to encourage even more traffic to compete with pedestrians and bicyclists on a wooded road with no shoulders, no markings, no sidewalks, and multiple blind spots is reckless and irresponsible. It is the city's responsibility to consider a more suitable, safer location for the proposed action park. I have shared some photos with you of what it is like to walk and drive along our street, and I will follow up with an email, and thank you for considering these safety concerns as part of your planning decisions.
Thank you, Ms. Blaze. Natalia Miranda?
Natalia Miranda, 176 Rivers Edge Way. Good evening. I did not come prepared with a speech, but I can speak from the heart. I think that, honestly, I think it's just not the right place to put an action park. Parking is going to be a problem. Also, I can give you the perspective of a 16-year-old girl. I play soccer for Gahanna Lincoln High School. I use that field all the time to train. Many people do. Youth teams like the I-9, GSA, lacrosse even practices there, and they need that space because everywhere else is taken. There's so many youth teams going on. And even aside from that, people go on their own time. They spend time with their families. You know, they play with their dogs there. There's Monday leagues, soccer leagues. But I'm not here to give you a sob story, but I think that it would just make no sense. I mean, there's a retirement home right there, and no old person wants to have an action park right outside of their retirement home. They're trying to enjoy their time, you know? And it brings in the wrong crowds. Coming from a teenage girl, I know what really happens at those parks, you know? There's a reason that skate park at Shoal Park is so run down. I mean, it brings the wrong people in. And coming from someone that lives right across from it, that's not something we want. And just taking away all the nature and it doesn't make any sense. I also think that the park the green across from the pool would make so much more sense. I mean, it's already open, it's closer to Creekside, as people said. People bring their kids there all the time. And I think that parking, there's going to be a lot of people there, and there's so much space to park. The pool's right there. Kids can come from the pool to the park. They can go from the park to the creek. They can go from the park to Creekside. I mean, there's just so much more availability within that part. And also, with the amount of stuff that you're doing to our wildlife around it, I mean, it's just going to take so much more work. You're taking away, like, creeks. You're taking water. You're taking away trees. It's like there's so much wildlife there. It's like insane. And I think that it would just make more sense to not put it where we live, because it's just not the right space. What they said, the road's very narrow. People are speeding through there all the time, and it's just not a safe place to put it. And I would be concerned for my safety having that park down there. That's all.
Thank you, Ms.
for your
Miranda.
time.
Richard Blaze?
Hi, Richard Blaze, 200 Founders Court. I didn't come with a prepared statement like her. I came kind of from the heart. I wanted to hear what everybody had to say. And the residents behind me, I kind of polled them last week. It took us about a week to kind of get organized, and then last week to kind of dig up everything that we could on the Gahanna website. You know, with the last couple of years of the COVID crisis, lockdowns, masking, the vaccine mandates. Now we have Alexander Mayorkas with the Homeland Security telling us, oh, FEMA's broke. What, 2 days into the national budget, they're broke? Listen, everybody back here is kind of, our trust in government is going way down. Mayor, you knew about this problem 2 weeks ago when we all showed up to the Parks and Recreation. You had a couple of chances to listen to us, but I guess your time was not available to listen to us. I overheard you outside just a few minutes ago with one of the residents saying, we have this all wrong, it's way blown out of proportion. Well, please put it back into proportion for us. In fact, I'm just wondering, are we going to have to do a meeting like this on Wednesday over at the golf club where we all just get 3 minutes to talk? Or are you going to actually, at that meeting, finally tell us exactly what is the plan? Because in the 1 week that we all have had to look up the stuff off the website, we have uncovered maps that look like you have more than just a skate park planned. It's a skate park, pump track, climbing wall, a blacklick canopy walk, and a Frisbee park. That's huge. That is basically an amusement park here in Gahanna. The amusement parks that I know in Ohio are up in Sandusky and down towards Cincinnati. I'm not sure that we are prepared in Gahanna, Ohio to handle something like that, especially on a 2-lane road. That's all I have really. What I really think though is when we do change of use on property, it's usually pretty standard for a very large format sign to go up to warn neighbors that you're changing from residential to commercial, commercial to church or something like that. Let's start doing that for every time that we do this. When you decide to make the change from this location to somewhere else, please put up a sign so the residents of the new location for this park know what's going on.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Blaze. All right. Maria, and I apologize, is it Duque? Duque.
Maria Duque, 200 Rivers Edge Way. I am heartbroken. I am heartbroken at so many levels. I cannot even begin to express to you my level of heartbreak. I am a fairly new citizen. I came to the U.S. and just became a citizen about 7 years ago. My trust in government is broken. I will have to admit that I do not understand local government like majority of us. The more I learn of everything that is being proposed and done to us, your constituents that live in this affected area, the more my heart breaks. My heart breaks because every single one of you has been open about why you ran for office, what your intention was when you ran for office. When I read what each one of you proposed, what each one of you swore to do for us, your constituents, I am not seeing it reflected in this project. I am not seeing you protect the environment. I am not seeing you protect our waterways, our watershed. I am not seeing you protect our kids. I am not seeing you protect us. I am not seeing you take into consideration that this particular path where we live, this corridor, starts with a cemetery where people walk as they grieve, past a golf course, that then turns into a mental health addiction clinic that opens in 2 weeks, that then turns into a retirement community where people that walk with walkers that are already hindered by their movement are going to have to face teenagers and people in their skateboards and various other things. That then moves into quiet neighborhoods in a 15-mile-an-hour, 1.5 lanes, where cars have to stop to give the right of way. My hope is that each and every one of you is listening to us and you do the right thing by us, the homeowners and the constituents that live in this area. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kurt?
My name is Frank Kurtz. I live at 131 Rivers Edge Way. I appreciate this opportunity. Soccer is one of the fastest growing sports in the United States. In Lower McCorkle, we have a regulation soccer field that is regularly used by not only soccer, but by field hockey as well. Some of the organizations that use it are Gahanna Soccer Association, 19 Sports, Valley Sports Group, and Gahanna teams, as well as by impromptu individuals and groups just for the enjoyment of kicking the ball around. Yet the city wants to displace that field with a cement skate park and possibly other venues. Even though space is limited and safety concerns are paramount, due to the narrow road combined with walking traffic from the rehabilitation center, the very close-by senior living facility, and the numerous walkers from the surrounding residential neighborhood, and I emphasize residential. Also, the skate park would be a blight on the natural beauty of the area. We are not against the skate park, but Lower McCorkle is not an appropriate fit for the skate park, plus whatever else the city may want to pursue afterwards. I recently visited the Westerville Skate BMX complex, and it is located in a great area, nicely placed in a non-residential area with room to spare. We believe the former location of the Shoal Park would be an ideal location for the new skate park. It is in an area similar to Westerville with plenty of room for further development. And if not Shoal, we have identified other locations other than Lower McCorkle, especially the area adjacent to the swimming pool on the north side, that would be much more appropriate. We believe an unbiased observer would conclude that Lower McCorkle makes no sense for a skate park and whatever else might be on the horizon. It begs the question, why Lower McCorkle?
Thank you, Mr. Kurtz. All right, that concludes the speaker slips that I have for this evening. It is our typical format that we do not respond at hearing of visitors, but there will be comments I anticipate from council members during council comment, and we appreciate all of you coming today. All right. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion excuse me, before I entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda, Mr. Van Meter, would you please read the ordinances identified under Section 3 of the consent agenda?
Ordinance 0056-2024, an ordinance accepting public water improvements and easement associated with the Discovery Storage Development located at 4569 Morse Road. Ordinance 0058-2024, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to provide consent and enter a participatory agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation for bridge replacement on Winridge Court. Ordinance 0059-2024, an ordinance authorizing the city attorney or the city attorney's designee to file for appropriation of right-of-way and temporary construction easement for 986 Ridgecrest Drive, parcel ID 025-010858, Sayoko T. Cullen, owner, and furtherance of the Winridge Court Bridge Replacement Project. And lastly, Ordinance 0060-2024, an ordinance authorizing the city attorney or the city attorney's designee to file for appropriation of right-of-way and temporary construction easement for 320 Winridge Court, parcel ID 025-010865, Lauren Renner and Peter Renner, owners, and furtherance of the Winridge Court Bridge Replacement Project.
Thank you, Mr. Van Meter. With that, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as published?
So moved, Madam President.
I have a first by Mr. Schnetzer,
Second.
second by Mr. Renner. Any discussion? All in favor? Mr. Van Meter, would you please call the roll?
Schnetzer?
Yes.
Renner?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
McGregor?
Yes.
Padova?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes. Motion carries. The consent agenda is adopted as published. Next up is Section F, Resolutions. Tonight we have Resolution 32-2024, a resolution accepting the 2024 staffing study. This was discussed at our last council committee meeting, and this is presented to you with amendments to the original resolution as it was presented, such that council would be accepting the staffing study, not necessarily adopting it. Is there any is there a first to accept Resolution 32-2024?
So moved.
I have a first by Mr. Schnetzer.
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Renner. Is there any discussion? Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Schnetzer?
Yes.
Renner?
Yes.
McGregor?
Yes.
Padova?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution 34-2024 is adopted. Next section on the agenda is ordinances for second reading and adoption. Mr. Van Meter, would you please read ordinance 54-2024 for the record?
Ordinance 0054-2024, an ordinance to adopt amendments to Part 5 General Offenses, Code Sections of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Gahanna to provide for penalties, to provide for codification, to provide for severability, to repeal conflicting ordinances, to provide an effective date, and for other purposes.
Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 54-2024?
So moved.
I have a first by Mr. Renner. I have a second by Ms. Jones. Is there any discussion? I will note that there is a request to amend Ordinance 54 to approve and adopt the amended Exhibit A, amendments to Part 5 General Offense Code sections of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Gahanna. That was presented to us at last Committee of the Whole from City Attorney Tamilarison. So I'd like to entertain a motion to amend Ordinance 54. I have a first on the motion to amend from Mr. Schnetzer.
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Renner. Any discussion on the amendment? Mr. Van Meter, would you please call the roll as to the amendment?
Schnetzer?
Yes.
Renner?
Yes.
Padova?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
McGregor?
Yes.
Motion to amend carries. So now we'll take discussion and/or roll call. If there's no discussion, then roll call vote on the motion to adopt Ordinance 54 as amended. All right. Would you call the roll, Mr. Van Meter?
Renner?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Padova?
Yes.
Schnetzer?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
McGregor?
Yes.
Motion carries. ordinance 54-2024 as amended is passed. Mr. Van Meter, excuse me. Would you please, I'm sorry, did you read 57 and 61 already? Okay. Would you please read ordinance 57-2024 for second reading?
Ordinance 0057-2024, an ordinance accepting Crescent Place public roadway, water main, storm sewer, and sanitary sewer public infrastructure improvements associated with the Crescent Woods development.
Thank you, Mr. Van Meter. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 57-2024?
So moved.
I have a first by Mr. Renner.
Second.
I have a second by Ms. Padova. Any discussion on this item? All right. Hearing none. Mr. Van Meter, would you please call the roll?
Renner?
Yes.
Padova?
Yes.
Schnetzer?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
McGregor?
Yes.
Motion carries. Ordinance 57-2024 is adopted. Mr. Van Meter, would you please read ordinance 61-2024 for second reading?
Ordinance 0061-2024, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept and enter into an access agreement with Ohio Power Company, successor in interest to Columbus and Southern Ohio Electric Company, for public safety vehicular access to 825 Tech Center Drive and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Van Meter. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 61-2024?
So moved.
I have first by Ms. Jones, a second by Mr. Schnetzer. I'll also note that there was a discussion to amend ordinance 61 to adopt proposed substitute Exhibit A access agreement. There is a red line agreement in your materials. Is there a motion to amend ordinance 61 as stated?
So moved.
I have a first by Mr. Schnetzer.
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Renner. Any discussion on the amendment? All right. Hearing none, Mr. Van Meter, would you please call the roll with regard to the amending ordinance 61?
Schnetzer?
Yes.
Renner?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
McGregor?
Yes.
Padova?
Yes.
Motion to amend ordinance 61 carries. Any discussion on the motion to adopt ordinance 61? All right. Mr. Van Meter, would you please call the roll on the motion to adopt ordinance 61-2024 as amended?
Jones?
Yes.
Schnetzer?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
McGregor?
Yes.
Padova?
Yes.
Renner?
Yes.
Motion carries. Ordinance 61-2024 is approved with emergency. All right, Section H on the agenda, correspondence and actions. Mr. Van Meter, I think you have an update for us.
Thank you, President Bowers. Pleased to report and share with Council that Deputy Clerk of Council, Sophia McGuire, has applied for an appointment through NAGARA, which is the National Association of Government Archives and Records Administrators, for a spot on what's called the National Historical Publications and Records Commission, part of the National Archives. The NHPRC is a 15-member body representing all branches of federal government, professional associations of archivists, historians, and records administrators. Sophia submitted an extensive application to NAGARA, and a decision will be made by late fall. This commitment would be meeting twice a year at the Historic Archives Building in Washington, D.C., travel expenses paid by the NHPRC, and the main duty of the committee would be to review 50 to 60 grant applications. As you know, Sophia's skill set, consisting of successful grant applications not only for our city, but in her previous roles with respect to records preservation, her professional certifications in records and archives, and her involvement in NAGARA presentations, we hope will shine through with her applications for this position. So I do hope to report back later this fall with some good news. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Van Meter. Any questions from my colleagues? All right. Well, we wish Sophia the best of luck in that pursuit. Any other items for correspondence and actions from my council colleagues tonight? All right. Hearing none, we'll move on to reports and from our representatives. Mr. Renner, you have a brief report from the Community Improvement Corporation.
Yes, I was not in attendance at the last CIC meeting. But I know Mr. Weaver will definitely follow up with a ample report next time. The next CIC meeting is going to be October 22nd at 8 o'clock, Mayor, or? Yes. Okay, 8 o'clock in the committee rooms.
Thank you so much, Mr. Renner. Unfortunately, Mr. Weaver is out ill tonight, but he did submit a MORPC report to City Council dated today. He did include that on tonight's agenda and does have a list of initiatives and updates from MORPC. I will note that MORPC, as a member benefit, members can engage in discounted training facilitated by the YWCA. And so if you are interested in that as a member benefit, check out the information contained in his report. Convention and Visitors Bureau, Councilwoman Padova.
Nothing from me this evening since we got a full presentation earlier. Thank you.
Got the easy way out tonight. Yes. Okay, thank you, Ms. Padova. And School Board, Councilwoman Jones.
Yeah, thank you. So a few shout outs and celebrations from the district that I wanted to share that have been reported out. So Matt Blackwell, who I believe works in IT for the district, has received the OSBA Exemplary School Employee Award. In addition to that, Kara Coates, our school board president, has been appointed to the OSBA Central Region Executive Committee. Joining a host of other award-winning teachers, we have our media teacher, Mark Lowery. We know that he is our state teacher of the year, but himself, curriculum director Tia Holloman, and also high school principal Jessica Williams got to spend time at the White House a couple of weeks ago for back to school night. So wanted to shout out and celebrate them. In addition to sharing that the district has received 4 stars again on the Ohio Schools report card, meaning we exceed state standards. This was a discussion that was in depth at the last workshop meeting, which was last Thursday, so you can check that recording online. And I encourage everyone to go out and watch them. A lot of great information shared about the district and really the service that we provide to the students. Last thing is just wanting to remind everyone that the next regular school board meeting is the 17th at 6:30 at Clark Hall.
Thank you, Councilwoman Jones. Official reports, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Just a few things before I offer some other commentary. First of all, to alert you, I'd like to congratulate our team here at the City of Gahanna for achieving the Government Finance Officers Association, GFOA, Distinguished Budget Presentation Award. This Certificate of Achievement is the highest form of recognition in the area of governmental accounting and financial reporting, and it really represents a significant achievement by all of our departments, every one of our directors who contribute to our budget, the professionalism they show in putting that budget together, and also to our team and the Director of Finance, Joanne Burry, and her members. Criteria for the selection for this includes the spirit of full disclosure to clearly communicate the financial story of the city, how well Gahanna's budget serves as a policy document, a financial plan, an operational guide, and a communications device. And I would note this is the 11th consecutive year that the city has received that award. Many thanks to the Gahanna Historical Society for presenting another wonderful Mill Street Market last Sunday. Despite the rain, the crowd was steady throughout the day. I know I was there from 7:30 in the morning until 4:30 in the morning with many members of our team. Director Farrell was there with me all day long as well, along with Director Schultz, Director Vollmer, Director Weibensinger. Chief Spence was there, many members of our PD. We had great community engagement on a variety of projects, everything from 825 to our aggregation plan. We had a representative of SOPEC was there who was able to answer questions on Gahanna Energy Plus, what that would mean for residents and the opportunities that it presents. Again, I mentioned Parks and Recreation was there and had a lot of engagement, some of whom I know there's some folks in the audience that we spent some significant time with talking about the Action Sports Park and where we are and where we are not on that project. One of the other things that we talked about was the upcoming strategic plan. We had a board up to just as a community conversation starter to get people to think about that, asking them to identify what they loved most about the city. There will be many opportunities for public engagement over the next 12 to 14 months as part of the strategic plan, and I hope to see every single person in this room be part of those conversations as we go forward with defining the vision for the future of this city over the next 12 to 14 months. Related to that, one of the other projects that are just now beginning is the Comprehensive Transportation and Mobility Plan, which will guide us in the future for planning and investments for everything from roadways and traffic management to bike lanes and pedestrian facilities. As part of that, our work on that, as we begin to start that, we're hosting a special conversation with Jeff Speck. Mr. Speck is a renowned author, city planner, and global advocate for walkable cities. He will be leading a conversation on creating a more walkable Gahanna. That is a free event. The community is invited to participate. It is Wednesday, October 30th at the Menlo at Franklin Peak. If you've ever been to Edison Brewing, it's the big white building right next to it on the 3rd floor. It's a brand new event space in that building. Doors open at 5:30 p.m. Conversation begins at 6:30 p.m. It is a free event, but we are asking for RSVPs so that we can track the number of seats we need to have. It is a very large space, so I don't think we will sell out, so to speak, but we are asking for RSVPs. You can find that at gahanna.gov. We also have the unveiling of new communication panels that will be placed in 4 of our parks. These are panels that will assist with individuals who do not speak or have minimally speaking abilities to guide them and to help them communicate. They will be 4 panels, one in Friendship Park, Hanna Park, Woodside Green, and Sun Point Park. This is a collaboration with the Gahanna Parks and Recs Foundation, the Gahanna Jefferson Education Foundation, the Gahanna Jefferson Schools, and the City of Gahanna, and mostly led by our Department of Parks and Recreation Director Farrell and her team. The ribbon cutting for that will be on Saturday, October 19th at 10 a.m., and we invite the community to come forward for that. And then I'll just give one more plug for the town halls on aggregation. Again, October 22nd, right here in council chambers, 2 options, one at noon and one at 6 p.m. You don't need to register, just show up for that, and we'll have some great dialogue and answer questions. You mentioned earlier, Council President, for commentary. Usually I know council members have some comments, so I did want to speak to some of the comments that were offered this evening. Thank you for being here again. Thank you for sharing your views this evening. I can assure you that we hear you and we hear your concerns, and they're not lost on us. I do want to say I do believe there's a fundamental misunderstanding of where we are on this project and what OHM, the consultant, has been engaged to do. And what it means and what it doesn't mean. To reinforce where we are, we started a conversation on should we be looking at the idea of an action sports park right here in these council chambers almost a year ago during the budget process. We agreed as part of that budget process, when the budget was approved, that we would move forward with engaging a consultant to conduct essentially a feasibility study. That is exactly what this is. We engaged OHM to conduct a feasibility study to look at environmental impacts, traffic impacts, what design concepts could be included in an action sports park, to provide cost estimates, and to lead us in public engagement. Once all of those things are gathered and all of that information is collected, that will enable us to then make an informed decision as to whether or not we proceed with an action sports park, whether that's at Lower McCorkle Park or someplace else. That is where we are today. There has been no decision made to build an action sports park at Lower McCorkle Park. We are simply engaged in evaluating the viability of an action sports park. Does Lower McCorkle make sense? What would it look like? Would it fit there? Maybe it doesn't fit there. We don't have that information yet. The consultant that has been engaged has engineers on their team. They know where FEMA is. We have an engineering team here. We know the FEMA maps. We know where floodplains and floodways are in Gahanna. Trust us, every time it rains, we know exactly where they are. We have a fantastic team of professionals here to lead us through this process, but we I think you guys are 10 steps ahead of where we are. We're on step 1. Public engagement is just now beginning. I can't stress that enough. I appreciate there are many requests I've had. I've had requests from multiple residents individually, no less than 6 or 7 residents who each reached out to me asking to meet with me separately to discuss this. That's in addition to the other residents, the 35,000 plus people who live here, who want to talk with me about something else beyond an action sports park, whether it's their street paving, whether it's the skunk under their porch, no matter what it is. I have residents who reach out to me and ask to meet with me all the time. As a result, when I have 6 or 7 people who want to reach out and have a conversation on the same exact thing, it seems to me that the most effective and most efficient use of everyone's time is to have one meeting with everybody at the same place so that everybody hears the same information, everybody can ask their questions at the same time and hear the same answers at the same time, because that helps to really dilute the telephone game that can tend to happen. You hear something over here and by 5 people later, it's totally something different, right? So having one meeting with everybody in one room seems to be the best option, which is why we are now working with the consultant to schedule a community meeting. We're trying to find a date in October, but between Planning Commission, Parks Board meetings, Strategic Plan Committee meetings, Citizens Academy meetings, budget meetings, we're trying hard to find an evening when we don't already have something scheduled. We promise you we will make that happen sometime in the next 2 to 3 weeks before the end of this month. It will be a community-wide meeting, and I hope that all of you will show up for that so that we can have the conversation and get the feedback that we need to continue the evaluation process. I appreciate that many of you were here for the Parks Board meeting a few weeks ago. I would have liked to have attended that meeting, but I was sitting in this very seat at the same time at a Planning Commission meeting, because those 2 meetings happen at the same time. We're very lucky. We have many, many boards and commissions in this community that are made up of residents who serve our community. I couldn't be in 2, as much as I try, my husband always yells at me, you can't be in 2 places at one time. I have not yet mastered that. So I was in this room and not in that room, but my 2 senior directors were in that room to represent my office and provided me with feedback that was there. I worked very hard to try to engage with residents. I'm here 60 hours a week, and I say 60, and I mean it. Monday through Friday. I was at 4 events this weekend engaging with community members. I was at the Mill Street Market from 7:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. last Sunday in the rain to talk with folks. I am always happy to talk with people. If I can't meet with you individually, it's for that reason, because you're not the only one, and we're going to find another way to do it. But otherwise, I answer my phone calls, I answer my emails, or I'll set up a meeting with you. So I hope, again, that you will all attend the community meeting that we're going to have. Our consultant will be there, our team will be there. And I just, again, want to reiterate the level of professionalism of the directors who work in this city. Each one of them has gone to school for the sector that they work in, whether it's engineering, economic development, parks and recreation, planning, building, zoning. They've gone to school and gotten a degree because that is their passion. They've worked for years in that field and take great pride in serving the citizens of this city. They work in their fields because they have a passion for that field. Our Parks and Recs folks are passionate about protecting our open spaces and our green spaces. They're passionate about wanting to provide high-quality recreational opportunities that serve our residents. And I would ask you all to remember that. You might not agree with a decision, or you might not agree with a process, but there are processes that we follow, and we follow them consistently. I'm happy to talk with any of you afterward as well. But again, I hope to see you. We will send out a notice when that community meeting is scheduled. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Jadwin. City Attorney Tamala Larison.
Thank you. I want to thank council for passage of the ordinance updating our criminal code. As many of you know, I am tasked with prosecution and defense of all offenses that occur or litigation that occurs with the city. That includes both mayor's court as well as Franklin County Municipal Court for any misdemeanor level offenses. I am pleased to report that through collaboration with the police department and the administration, that we are going to be doing a minor shift in where we prosecute cases, specifically for first-time OVI offenses. Right now, the citations are typically written into Franklin County Municipal Court. That process is something that we have to eventually pay for, the benefit of using the Franklin County Municipal Court to prosecute cases. So we are doing a shift for first-time OVI offenses to be prosecuting those now in Mayor's Court. Just to give you an idea of what we're talking about, we had 28 OVI citations in September. We've had 172 to date. Of these offenses, a large portion of them are first-time offenses. Each offense comes with a mandatory minimum penalty of at least $375 fine that ultimately is paid towards whatever court is being prosecuted in. This would generate another stream of revenue for the city that we could reinvest in our own residents here instead of just paying for the benefit of using a court system when we have one here in-house. So I'm happy to go into more depth of the pros and cons of this change and the benefits that it will provide for the city, and the ins and outs of Mayor's Court. If anyone wants to talk about that, feel free to let me know. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, City Attorney Tamala Larison. I'm sure that there will be follow-up on that comment. All right, moving on to Section K, council comment. We'll start with Councilwoman Jones.
Thank you. My September constituent newsletter is attached to the agenda for this evening, so highlights and updates of things that happened in September. One particular thing that I wanted to highlight is that I am particularly passionate about celebrating Juneteenth in our community, and I know it's October, and Juneteenth is quite a ways away, but we are trying to get ahead of that, and so I am forming a committee of residents to help imagine and brainstorm what Juneteenth could look like for our community in partnership with Lori Kappas and Visit Gahanna. So if there are any residents, no matter how you identify, your age, anything like that, that want to participate, please reach out to me and I'm happy to share details about that. Also just want to give a quick shout out to the Gahanna Gear program. I had an opportunity to speak with those interns a couple weeks ago. They are starting a community guest speaker series in their program and extend an invite to all council colleagues, the mayor, anybody else who would like to speak to those, to the interns there. And also just a call out to local businesses. So the GEAR program is all about employee readiness or job readiness for those disabled members of our community. And so the success of their program depends on businesses who are willing to open up their doors to teach them skills. So just a reminder that they are always needing more placement for the interns in that program. And then just wanted to end with, thank you everyone for showing up for comment tonight and for your passion and for your advocacy. And also just to say that I hope you understand that the silence of those of us that maybe you haven't heard from, please don't take that as, complicity or that we don't hear you. Please know that we do. As the mayor mentioned, she is planning a meeting. Council President Bowers and Schnetzer are also meeting with you. I can only speak on my behalf, but trying to avoid too many cooks in the kitchen. But please, again, I just want you to know that those of us who haven't actively engaged does not mean that we don't hear you, does not mean that we don't want to help move this along. Also, I'm with you in wanting to make sure the communication stands open. So just know that I will be at every meeting I can where sunshine laws allow me to be. I cannot be there with Schnetzer and Bowers on Thursday, but any community meeting I will be. So just know that. We hear you. I appreciate your organized effort as well, too. We move faster when we work together, so continue to do that and work through and with each other and with us as we move forward.
Thank you, Councilwoman Jones. Councilwoman McGregor.
Thank you. I just want to thank everybody for coming out to Mill Street Market. Carrie Hawk, who runs our Mill Street Market for the Historical Society, she said she talked to many of the vendors, and even though the crowd was a lot less, the buyers showed up, and most of the vendors were very happy. A lot of people come because it's a community event. They see friends they haven't seen for a long time. That was kind of, that wasn't such a common occurrence with the rain, the way it poured down on Saturday, but although we were wet, it wasn't cold and it wasn't windy. So most of the vendors had a really good day, and I know some that sold out, so that was a good thing. And thank you to Mr. Schnetzer for the coaches resolution. I know that they spend hours and hours of time. I know I coached GSA for 8 seasons with my youngest son, and the time they put in, and it isn't. My son-in-law was here tonight with the Foxborough Barracudas, and I had no idea how much goes into a swim meet. But you have speaker systems, you have lane markers, you have all this stuff that has to be set up ahead of time. Where when I coached, you kind of just showed up and coached your soccer team, and then you went home. But those coaches put hours and hours in time, and they had 150 swimmers this year. Some of them, they were like 4 and 5 years old and didn't swim very well, so the older swimmers would swim along, or the older coaches would swim along with the little kids to make sure they could get from one end to the other. And by the end of the season, they all could go the full length of the pool. So, and I know that's in every sport, that the coaches are very dedicated to helping our young people. I will say, I know that there are a lot of people here about the Action Park, and I will, just a little history on Ridenour Road, and I know this goes back quite a ways, but I felt it pertinent to say tonight. When my husband was first elected mayor, there was it wasn't too many years before there was so much concern about Ridenour Road that the police chief suggested that they close the road at Carlin Court so that it was just a dead end on either end. And they did a survey of the residents. They sent a survey of all the residents along Ridenour Road and in Westerville, or in, Woodside Green, and asked them what they thought about that idea. And overwhelmingly, the people said they did not want the road to be closed because the people in Woodside Green loved driving home on that road. It's a quiet road, it's shaded, it's beautiful, and coming home from work, they said it just allowed them to kind of bleed off the tension of the day and to get home and have that nice, peaceful drive. So they came up with and before you all said that, I was thinking about, the road is frequently closed due to flooding. It is hilly with blind spots. It's very narrow, and there's no berm in most of the places. And you have people walking, people pushing strollers, people walking dogs. And after that survey came out, they came up with a compromise, and they lowered the speed limit at that time to 15 miles an hour. And somebody mentioned the signs. It said a bike trail, autos tolerated. And those signs were up for many, many years, just to emphasize that this is primarily a bike trail. It's not designed for cars. Cars cannot navigate it. Even passing is hard in some places. And, but that will allow them to keep the road open. And so those signs were removed. And actually, I have one in my backyard because when they took them down, I bought one from the city when they took it down. So I actually have one of those signs. But Ridenour is a very special road. And I just, aside from all the other issues, I just think that has to be a concern. The other thing was the area around the parking lot. I don't remember quite all the details, but part of that was the wetland grants. They have what do you call them when you buy, somebody's destroying a wetland here for development, they can buy wetland credits somewhere else. And the city sold that area on the west side of the parking lot, I believe, for wetland credits at one time. So that is you couldn't expand that parking lot and fill it in because that's a designated wetland on the west side of the street. So I just wanted to bring that up because I think it's important to know the history of things in the area. So, I know there'll be many conversations to go forward about this, but I want you to know that I do know those facts about the road. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. McGregor. Councilwoman Padova.
Thank you. I think Councilwoman Jones put pretty much everything I was going to say even better, so I will just stick with what she said here in regards to the comments on the park this evening. I appreciate you all coming out. I hope that throughout this process we're able to continue listening, that you're able to hear the things that we are and aren't doing, so that then we can all move in the same direction going forward. And also thank you to Councilman Schnetzer for putting together the coach's resolution this evening, and also want to recognize that he is also himself a coach and always at some sort of sports game of one type or another, whether it's football or baseball. So thank you for your efforts as well. And that's all.
Thank you, Ms. Padova. All right, Mr. Renner.
Yeah, so thank you, Madam President. I've been sitting here contemplating a range of my comments. So let me first begin with thanking the administration with the work that they've actually done on the aggregation. And I want to start there because I think President Bowers actually reminded us of our goals as a city to actually lower our greenhouse gases and to actually look at our natural resources and a few other things. That was an initiative that a few of us actually felt that we actually needed to put forward. And we joined the PCFO, the Power Clean Fuels Ohio, which actually then got us into a more robust discussion about what is electrical aggregation and how to do that with our goals. This actually points to the fact that we actually are very cognizant of our natural resources and our community well-being and our economic vitality. So I want to thank the administration for that work, and I want to thank the work that they partner with council. Council was the one that actually came up with these ideas about these goals for the city, and they end up at this point. But through our process, sometimes it doesn't make sense to people, to residents who may be sitting there and paying attention to your lives, and you're trusting that government is taking care of the details, taking care of the business, to make sure that your home is actually worth something. Your place where you live is actually of value, not just a monetary value, but it actually has these other things, the community wellness, the spirit, the vitality of our community. That is what we're in charge with, those details. So, but our process can be cumbersome and it can be ugly sometimes. The administration, actually through the Parks Department, actually they created this idea of an action park and said that, hey, let's do something. And you know what? From a high-level concept idea, that's beautiful. Let's do something. So the idea was, let's hire somebody who's skilled. Let's do a feasibility study. How it got to Lower McCorkle Park, I have no clue. And those of you who know me know that I'm a tree hugger. For 8.5 years, I've been driving an EV, a poor man's EV, the Nissan Leaf. So, but that's another discussion. So we did some work. We did a feasibility study. Yes, there are several of us that were very reserved about being at Lower McCorkle. But we agreed that, okay, you know what, let's just do the work to see what it is. Now, as somebody who actually leads engineers for the county, for water and sewer, let me tell you what they do. Engineers love to play, love to actually put models together, and love to do all sorts of analysis. And in fairness, that is sort of what we asked OHM to do. They put models together, they threw a process, and they did a feasibility study. Okay. And I get it. I understand why that looks to you like we're gang-ho and we're going to go do something. Because, quite frankly, the city spent monies and you're seeing a report and a piece of paper. I get it. We all get it. But that is the ugly part of our process. In order for us to get to the next step, we have to know sort of how big the breadbox is. We sort of have to know what are the parts that we like about an action park and what are the parts that we don't like. I don't like Lower McCorkle. Forget it. No. None of our natural resources. But this is coming from somebody who's working passionately on a master's, I graduate very soon, in sustainability and resiliency. And one of the things that they drill into your heads is sustainability is not just go and create all these little programs. Sustainability is the unification of economic vitality, natural resources stewardship, and community well-being. Those three things. And so we haven't gotten there yet as a city to create the guiding principles of a sustainability. We're getting there. But along the way, we're sort of stumbling. From your point of view, I get it 100%. We're stumbling. But trust us. And it goes a little bit both ways. While you're waiting for us to take care of the details, sometimes reports might look a little shady. Sometimes reports might look a little unfair. Come to us, contact us like you have, and we'll tell you what's happening. But we have to have a public process so that it creates greater trust for the community, so that everybody understands, yep, this is the process, yep, the city's going to stumble, but engage. And let me tell you, I've been up here for about 13 years now, and the level of engagement has actually dropped. No one really has time to actually talk to the city officials. No one even comes to our meetings unless there's something really big and weighty. And so thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for voicing your opinion. And then, you know what? Take up the mayor on her offer. Stay engaged and watch us like a hawk. I urge you, please. And if I get out of line, let me know that as well. But please, trust us. I'm passionate, as you can tell. My colleagues up here are equally passionate. But trust us and give me the second. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Renner. Councilman Schnetzer?
Thank you, Madam President. Just a quick congratulations to Director Burry in our Finance Department on the Distinguished Budget Award. Mayor, I've already forgotten how many this is, but I'm sure she's probably running out of space on the wall to hang all of these awards. She does a great job, and we'd all be lost without her. She's truly an expert and a figurehead in her industry. Thank you again to our guests from the Foxborough Barracudas, GSA, Junior League, as well as the Gahanna Lions Youth Football League. I know it's sometimes difficult to carve out some time, but I certainly appreciate their willingness to accept the resolutions, the Coaches Day resolutions earlier this evening on behalf of their volunteer coaches. Further, thank you to everyone in attendance, not just those that stuck around, but also the ones that and probably had somewhere else to go. Again, time is always scarce supply, so appreciate you coming to speak and really taking part in this governmental process. On the topic of the Action Sports Park, of course, it's been mentioned before, President Bowers and I, we have on our calendars a meeting with many of the residents here in this room over the impacted area. And on this topic of what my colleague Ms. Jones was speaking to, and I noticed that City Attorney Tamala Harrison's head popped up when we mentioned sunshine laws. I am sure that many of my council colleagues would like to be in those meetings as well. However, know that there are certain regulations that permit how many of us can attend. So please allow them a pass on this. I know they would like to be there. And then in conclusion, on a fun note, I am pleased to announce or pleased to report that Gahanna Youth Football Junior Division sports 2 undefeated football teams at the conclusion of the regular season. Gahanna White went 5-0-1, and Gahanna Gold went 6-0. Both have earned #1 seeds in the playoffs and could potentially face each other in the championship game. Chris Johnson, Vice President of Gahanna Lions Youth Football League, who was in here accepting one of those resolutions, has always reminded us coaches that we're building the foundation. So in about 7 or 8 years, we should have a pretty darn good varsity football team ready to carry on some of the recent successes that have been seen just across the parking lot here. That's it for me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Schnetzer. All right, a couple of similar remarks that you've heard tonight, but I want to start by thanking Chief Spence and Lieutenant Moffett for the opportunity to sit down and talk this morning about best practices, to review processes, and to hear perspectives and needs. It was a great dialogue, and I know Councilman Jones and I very much appreciated the time. Congratulations to Director Burry for the recognition again from the GFOA regarding the budget presentation. And a big congratulations to Carrie Hawk and the Historical Society for yet another wonderful Mill Street Market that we had last weekend. Truly one of my favorite events here in Gahanna. I was out along with Councilwoman Jones, and we were talking with residents about the aggregation program, which is near and dear to my heart. So I was grateful to be there, and thank you to Director Schultz and Deputy Director Weibensinger for all your work on advancing not just the program, but also some of these communication tools that we're able to use when we're interacting with residents. As far as kind of those of you who have stuck around to the bitter end here tonight, thank you all again. Thank you for coming again. We hear you, and I'm going to sound duplicative of many of my colleagues, but your comments are very well taken. Your perspectives are very well taken. I think that what you're doing, I want to share this too. So you are part of, this is the process, right? This is where we are with the process. And we have public hearings, we have constituent hours, I meet monthly, either here at the library, and I am grateful to have this opportunity to meet you in this space, and I hope to continue the relationship beyond this project too. And it's genuine, right? So I'm on my second term. This is my first year as president of council. It is truly my great honor, and to have you here and to have you part of this process and to have you weigh in here is important. Before I served on council, I was doing exactly what you're doing, right? There was a multi-family, a residential project development that was going in on Taylor Road. It abutted directly behind some of my neighbors' homes. And we were concerned about the impact that lighting, lack of screening, garbage deliveries, all that kind of stuff we're going to have on my neighbors too. And I was doing exactly the same thing you are doing right now. So this is democracy at work. This is the process at work. We'll continue this forward, right? We want you to continue forward with participating in some of the more formal settings, but also the informal settings that you engage with and how you want us to show up where you are too. I'll note too that we had a CIP advisory committee meeting today, and thank you to Director Schultz for keeping that train on the track as well. That CIP document, this is our first year having it now under our belts, and It is bumpy, and we've had some, I think, we've found some things that we should be doing differently and can be doing better through the process of now having gone through that for the last year. We're going to continue to improve. We're planning on improvements to how the budget is going to be discussed and delivered, and hopefully it's more user-friendly for you, for us, and for the administration. And if you have other ideas, we continue to welcome them. So I really look forward to engaging with you all on Thursday and beyond that. And then as a very just quick point of privilege, I want to shout out and congratulate Gahanna Junior League A-minor Reds on their championship win tonight, and congratulate the Brewers on their finalist runner-up spot. It's been a joy to participate with Gahanna Junior League sports the last couple seasons, and we hope for a long relationship with that league as well. So. All right, with that, we do have a brief executive session on the agenda. I would propose that would you like to move right into executive session, or would you all like to adjourn for 5 minutes?
We can move right in, but I just have one comment.
Yes.
So when President Bowers mentions that the Gahanna Junior League, is it A minor?
A minor.
Reds just won the championship, please note that that occurred while she was here. And I just want to recognize, I've been in that situation before where you have to make that decision to come to a meeting or forego seeing your kid win that championship game. So I know how difficult that is, and I appreciate you being here to see us through this process. Thank you.
Thank you. My baby was the MVP of the game, so I'm very proud of him right now. Thanks. Okay. Thank you. All right, with that, let's take a motion to go into executive session under authority of section 5.40C of the Rules of Procedure to confer with the city attorney for the public body concerning disputes involving the public body that are subject of pending or imminent court action. Is there a first?
So moved, Madam President.
I have a first by Mr. Schnetzer.
Second.
Second by Mr. Renner. Any discussion? No. All right. Mr. Van Meter, would you please call the roll?
Schnetzer?
Yes.
Renner?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
McGregor?
Yes.
Padova?
Yes.
We don't. Session, if I may. You made the comment of having a meeting with the River's Edge and Lower Macomb. I was under the impression it was going to be at the library, and you said here. So is it here or is it at the library?
Mr. Heitzman.
It's library meetings 1 and 2, October 10th at
Okay, thank you.
4 to 5.
Yeah, I just heard that, and I wasn't sure if it was here, or it was at the library. I just wanted to make it clear.
Yeah, library, meeting rooms 1 and 2.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
See you there. Sorry.